Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge YouTube channel and to the highlights of Stage 3 of Tour de Provence 2021. I won't waste your time, we all know why we're here, the first big mountaintop finish of the 2021 season up to Mt Ventoux Chalet Reynard, 154 kilometre stage, pretty easy before the climb. It's 15 k's in total at 7.5%, but the first third of it is not so steep. The main part of the end is 9.7 k's at 9.1%, so a pure climber's delight. If you're wondering why they only went 2/3 of the way up Mt Ventoux, it's because it was absolutely freezing. Snow was covering the road further up the mountain. But before the climb started, the stage played out pretty predictably. A break went up the road, comprised mainly of French pro-Conti riders, Rouge, Cousin, Godin, Baggioli, Fedeli. Baggioli is actually the brother of the Quickstep Baggioli, the young, talented Italian. So maybe watch him on B&B. Alaphilippe was looking pretty comfortable. It was the same as the previous stages, with Ballerini in the leader's jersey. Quickstep were controlling proceedings with Asker, Stibar and Lampard, etc. Once again, we have obligatory slow-mo Egan Bernal footage. The last time I saw him pull that face was stage 15 on Colombians in the Tour de France last year. Maybe he'll have a better day today. But in the run into the finish with 10 k's until the base of the climb, Astana went to the front helping out Quickstep bring back this break. They needn't be too worried, but it did show that Astana were keen to be at the front of the race before the base of the climb and at the base of the climb, perhaps signalling what they were about to do once they hit the slopes of the Mont Ventoux. The brakes sort of disintegrated the minute they hit that base and they got caught in dribs and drabs by the chasing peloton. You can see it's not so steep at the moment, but they are climbing. And like yesterday in stage 2, where Astana tried to make the entirety of that Manos climb difficult, they did exactly the same thing today. They started driving a really hard pace with 10 k's to go when that final ramp started, setting up an attack with 9 k's to go from Harold Tejada, the young Colombian, on Astana. He was originally there, I think, signed to help Miguel Angel Lopez in the mountains, who's since gone to Movistar. But you can see the reaction this causes on the right-hand side, with Laurens de Plus on Ineos getting on the radio, I think, to call Eddie Dunbar to chase Harold Tejada. Matteo Fabro, the young Bora Hansgrohe rider on the left-hand side, is thinking about chasing Tejada and does. And Lutsenko and Vlasov are fanned across the road blocking, trying to make sure Tejada gets the biggest gap possible. But when Ineos have riders left, doesn't matter who it is, when they got a mountain train left, it's very difficult to attack them with 9 k's to go on a climb. And Tejada got a gap of maybe 12, 15 seconds at most. The Irishman Eddie Dunbar mowed him down about a k.5 later fairly comfortably. Then it was time for Laurens de Plus to pull with 6.8 k's to go, the Belgian nephew of Chris Froome it seems, but notice Egan Bernal on the team radio. And he said the other day, oh, we're riding for Ivan Sosa on GC, so you think, why is Sosa in front of Egan Bernal? Was Bernal just playing mind games in the media, or is it still the case that Sosa's the leader? And it will all make sense in a minute. Alaphilippe was glued to Bernal's wheel. He was looking pretty comfortable. But Carlos Rodriguez, the 20-year-old Spaniard on Ineos, I think he had the most important pull of the day. He's got Sosa on his wheel, 5.8 k's to go. He actually pulled a double turn because De Plus fell out of the train earlier than expected. And so Rodriguez pulled, strung out the bunch, putting everyone on their limit, setting up the Ivan Sosa attack with 4.7 k's to go. And you can see how this was set up with Bernal being on the wheel of Ivan Sosa. It's how to lose the wheel of your teammate, mountain edition. Bernal looking behind to see who's about to chase so he can snap onto their wheel. Alaphilippe got Mauri van Sevenant in the blue jersey for Quickstep to try and chase Ivan Sosa down. Vlasov was too far behind to try and react to the Sosa move. He was behind the Quickstep guy. And for someone like Sosa, who doesn't have much of a punch, for him to attack successfully, he does need things like his teammate opening up a gap to allow him to go up the road, get a 10 to 15 meter advantage. Van Sevenant tried his best, but the gap kept going out. Vlasov tried to bridge across, wasn't quick enough for Alaphilippe, who tried to attack across the gap, but he's marked by Egan Bernal. He couldn't drop him, and that was all she wrote. Sosa got a 25, 27 second gap, came down a little bit at the end. Bernal, adhering to rule 1 in life that nothing is free, attacked Alaphilippe with 1,200 meters to go, with Sosa's victory already assured, but Alaphilippe snapped back onto his wheel. Really impressive climbing performance from Alaphilippe today, hanging with Egan Bernal for the most part at the end of this Ventoux climb and still pulling afterwards, trying to chase down Ivan Sosa. But big win for Sosa. He had a disappointing Vuelta. He hasn't kicked on so far to winning World Tour level races yet, despite doing well at Burgos from 18, 19 and 20, but a big win on Mt Ventoux Chalet Reynard. And then Egan Bernal, who'd been sitting on Alaphilippe for the best part of the last kilometre, attacked him with 200 metres to go, and Alaphilippe was all out of juice. Really good to see Egan Bernal in good form, coming second on this mountain stage after all the rehab he's been doing after the Tour de France last year, and good performance from Alaphilippe as well. But here's the stage results. Ivan Sosa first, Bernal second, Alaphilippe third, 18 seconds behind Sosa. Wout Poels bridged across to Alaphilippe and Bernal for a bit and then got dropped. He was fourth. And then there was a larger third group on the road with Herrada, Ciccone, Mollema, Van Sevenot, Haig, Conrad and Vlasov. Lushenko, who was the GC favourite for Provence coming into the race, and Vlasov, a little bit disappointing. I really thought Vlasov was going to be able to hang with at least Bernal on this stage, but maybe the crash hurt him yesterday. The GC results, Sosa's first, 19 seconds ahead of Bernal second, Alaphilippe third, Wout Poels fourth, 39 seconds back. Will that be enough for Sosa to keep the leader's jersey after stage 4 tomorrow? That 21-second lead ahead of Alaphilippe. Let's have a look at that profile from Avignon to Salon de Provence. 162.5 kilometre stage. Doesn't look that threatening. There are some bonus seconds, 127 Ks into the stage, as well as obviously 10 bonus seconds on offer at the finish. And I'm telling you right now, if there is any wind, any tricky flat sections, Quick-Step are going to try and put Ivan Sosa under pressure. They are a nightmare for him. Go and look at what happened in stage 3 of Vuelta a Burgos last year. But how good was this Ivan Sosa performance on Mont Ventoux? Well, fortunately, Jack Haig put his power data up on Strava so we can reverse engineer what Ivan Sosa did. The main climbing segment was 29 minutes and 55 seconds. Jack Haig did 452 watts basically for half an hour, and he finished the stage 48 seconds behind Sosa. You can see his heart rate is pretty steady throughout the whole 30 minutes of that segment. That's thanks to Astana setting a really hard pace at the start. So 452 watts. Well, what's the watts per kilo? Well, Jack put up on Instagram that he was 71 kilos for the stage, 452 watts. You're probably thinking, what the fuck? How is he doing 452 watts at 71 kilos, 6.34 watts per kilo for half an hour, and he's losing 48 seconds to Sosa? You got to remember, he's like 15, 16 kilos plus lighter than Jack Haig and Matteo Jorgensen, who did a really good time as well on Mont Ventoux for his size. So 6.5, 6.6 watts per kilo for Sosa on Mont Ventoux to Chalet Reynard. Really good performance from him for 30 minutes. And we've seen the Colombian 1-2 from Ineos before in races like this. Gran Piemonte 2019, Bernal won with Sosa leading him out so much that he ended up coming second as well. And as I said before, good to see Bernal looking in good condition. I think he's going to the Giro d'Italia. I think he's obviously going to be a top favourite there. I think if Sosa goes with him and if Sosa can improve his Grand Tour level, which hasn't been good in the past, then he should be a really good asset for Bernal in the mountains as a domestique. But comment down below, do you think Bernal with Sosa, Rodriguez and Eddie Dunbar going to the Giro is a no-brainer? I think so. I think that should be their focus, the Colombians, because the climbs in the Tour de France generally are not difficult enough, particularly for Sosa to help. But maybe you think differently. Remember, whoever wins or sets a really hot time up to Chalet Reynard in February and Tour de la Provence, like Quintana last year, they'll obviously go on to win the Tour de France. And make sure you check out the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast previews for every single World Tour and Women's World Tour team for 2021. The Ineos preview is a banger. There's lots of hot takes in there, so if you think I'm an idiot, the previews are good to go and clip things from, which are definitely going to be wrong later in the season.